coming out of 2024, Bitcoin is emerging as an institutional grade asset, and it's not going to be competing with the Bitcoin forks or other proof of work coins, or Sam Bankman-Fried's favorite yo-yo token, but it's or apes or cats or crazy crypto things. It won't be thought of as that. It's going to be competing against owning a block of real estate in London, or owning New York, or owning a ton of gold, or owning a building, or perhaps owning $1 billion of the S&P index, or owning 1 million shares of Apple stock.
Michael Saylor, the founder and executive chairman of Virginia-based business intelligence firm MicroStrategy, has a very high conviction about his bullish short and long-term predictions for Bitcoin. Starting next year, and with the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF by the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission, Saylor is certain that the leading cryptocurrency asset will get even more recognition among U.S. politicians, mainstream media, and most importantly, big money investors, including large pension funds, endowments, family offices, and multi-billion-dollar corporations. According to the renowned business executive and investor, Bitcoin is about to become a widely used institutional-grade asset, which will have an instant and explosive effect on its price. Unlike many Bitcoin investors and maxes that are skeptical of the involvement of large Wall Street players like BlackRock and Fidelity, Saylor is convinced that their activities will be highly advantageous to the leading crypto asset. According to Saylor, his strong conviction is for a number of reasons. BlackRock, for instance, has about $10 trillion in assets under management, a lot of money that could gradually begin to make its way into Bitcoin and the overall cryptocurrency market. In addition, Saylor brilliantly points out that these firms have been almost as excited about Bitcoin as people who have been investing in the crypto asset for years. In July, we saw Larry Fink really talk up Bitcoin and digital assets in general, something no one thought would happen so soon. A few years ago, the BlackRock chief executive officer described Bitcoin as an index for money laundering. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, and this is what he had to say about Bitcoin. If you look at the value of our dollar, how it depreciated in the last 2 months, and how much it appreciated over the last 5 years, an international crypto product can really transcend that. That's why we believe there are great opportunities, and that's why we're seeing more and more interest. And the interest is broad-based and worldwide. With this positive outlook and general appreciation of Bitcoin's underlying qualities, Saylor says there's no reason to be suspicious of firms like BlackRock and a lot of reasons to be expectant of how much good their involvement will do. We will now bring you clips from Michael Saylor's fireside chat at the 2023 Bitcoin conference. But before we do, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
I think that from the years 2020 to 2024, that was the great transition of Bitcoin from being a retail asset in the crypto ecosystem, offshore, unregulated, poorly understood, the Wild West. And by the end of 2024, it will have emerged as an institutional asset in the mainstream financial ecosystems on Wall Street. Bitcoin's coming to Wall Street. And this is, it's like, I guess like college, like you started as a child and then you left home, and freshman year is very scary. And you've got 4 years of adjustment, and you you encounter people that are better educated than you or smarter than you, that come from parts of the world you've never been to, maybe that have more power than you. And initially it's a bit scary, but by the end of your college education, you're ready to go out in the world and compete with everybody else. And I think that coming out of 2024, Bitcoin is emerging as an institutional grade asset. But if Bitcoin's going to grow up, right, Bitcoin's on a path to go from nothing to 500 billion to 10 trillion to $100 trillion to 200 trillion. At some point, it should be 10, 20, 30% of all of the wealth in the world. If it's going to grow up like that, then it's inevitable that it had to be embraced and was going to be embraced by Wall Street. So if we consider the significance of BlackRock and the ETF, First of all, the real important point is there's broad-based consensus now that Bitcoin is an asset class. And that's a major revolution. If Fidelity and BlackRock and if 10 other ETF issuers all agree that Bitcoin is an asset class, right, it should be 10x to 100x bigger than it is right now. There's also broad-based agreement that sometime in the next year, a spot ETF will be approved. And that's also significant. I think the third significance is this is not BlackRock taking over Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin, being embraced by BlackRock, right? This is Bitcoin being embraced by Wall Street. Now, nobody on Wall Street, none of these ETFs, none of these leaders of these money managers have said, we just heard about Bitcoin, we're here to fix it. What they've said is, we heard about Bitcoin, it seems like everybody in the world wants it. And since we offer people gold and bonds and equity and other forms of investment options, we have a vacuum and we are lacking and we won't be complete until we're offering a Bitcoin product. So I'm not concerned about it. I think it's to be expected. I also think it's everybody that joins the Bitcoin ecosystem with humility helps, right? When Block shows up with Cash App and they build Bitcoin into Cash App, with respect to the protocol, they're helping Bitcoin. They're providing an on-ramp to Bitcoin. Not the only one. When you create a new signing device, you're helping Bitcoin. When you create a new node or any kind of software that helps you run a Bitcoin node, you're helping Bitcoin. When you're buying Bitcoin, you're helping Bitcoin. How you buy Bitcoin, right, is of less importance than the fact that you respect the protocol and you're assisting it.
According to Saylor, there's a whole class of investors that cannot currently buy or invest in Bitcoin. A spot Bitcoin ETF, especially from a big Wall Street player like BlackRock, will immediately change that. With a spot Bitcoin ETF, Saylor explains that corporations and other institutional investors will be able to invest in Bitcoin in minutes without having to rebuild the systems on which they've been operating for years or even decades. Saylor also points out that the existing Bitcoin futures ETF are too costly and inefficient for corporations. According to the MicroStrategy executive, a spot Bitcoin ETF will be equivalent to a 6-lane superhighway between Wall Street and Bitcoin, which will allow billions and billions of dollars to easily float into the cryptocurrency market. During the fireside chat, the renowned business executive also discusses how far Bitcoin has come in a few short years. We've come from hardly getting any recognition in the media to being hailed by judges, high-ranking and influential business executives like Larry Fink and top U.S. lawmakers and presidential candidates. Saylor adds that all of these rules out Bitcoin ever going to zero, and if it's not going to zero, it's definitely going to $1 million. Here are more clips from the fireside chat.
I've said many times before, I've said, if it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million. The reason it would go to zero is it's illegitimate or getting banned. And so the question is it illegitimate? Well, obviously not. It's an asset without an issuer. It's the world's first digital commodity and the greatest digital commodity. It's the only globally acknowledged digital commodity in the world. There's controversy about everything else. Bitcoin is the one non-controversial thing. So it is a legitimate asset. And is it being banned? Obviously not. The Chinese haven't banned it. It's deemed property in China. The Russians haven't banned it. It's property in Russia. The Americans haven't banned it. It's property in America. All of the controversy in our marketplace right now is surrounding crypto exchanges, the trading of unregistered securities, other tokens, and stable coins. And then the usage of these crypto tokens as a high-speed dollar substitute, a currency substitute. There's lots of controversy there. There will continue to be controversy. It is unclear how all that sorts itself out, except for the fact that there are two great conclusions you can come to over the past 24 months. Wall Street, the regulators, and the mainstream investment community endorses Bitcoin and appreciates Bitcoin. And everybody's skeptical of the rest of the crypto ecosystem, right? Bitcoin, yes. Crypto, not so sure, right? So that's where we are right now. I have met with lots of executives from these companies that are bringing spot ETFs to market. I can tell you for a fact, nobody wants to fix Bitcoin. Nobody wants to change Bitcoin. They've approached it with humility. They've approached it with grace. Their view is Bitcoin is a digital asset. People in the world seem to want it. We should do our part to provide services to make it easy to acquire and hold Bitcoin. Now, in time, right, the first and easiest step and the most critical step is that spot ETF, because that'll open up the super highway for, it's like a power line for hundreds of billions of dollars of capital to flow into the ecosystem. But eventually, Google and Apple will embrace Bitcoin. And when Google or Apple embraces Bitcoin and Apple puts some sort of Bitcoin signing device into the iPhone, there will be some people that will be skeptical and they will say, oh, we could never trust Apple. And that's reasonable. And other people will say, oh, well, it's an option for the masses that don't know how to, operate their own hardware wallet. And there'll be a debate. And then there'll be an avalanche, and then Apple, the Amazon will do something, and then Microsoft will build it into their browser, and then people will hate that. And then some other company will come up with a better Bitcoin-only one, and we'll like that. And maybe they'll succeed, and they'll grow. It'll be 10 or 100x, and maybe they won't. And then maybe at some point we'll wake up, and there'll be $4 billion, which will be of 4 billion people, and they will self-custody some amount of their own Bitcoin. And then they will have other Bitcoin that will be in an ETF in their retirement plan because their employer required that they actually have their retirement plan with a securities custodian. And the world will be heterogeneous.
Michael Saylor is not the only prominent investor who is optimistic about what the future holds for Bitcoin. In a recent Twitter post, renowned financial author Robert Kiyosaki restated the importance of investing in assets like Bitcoin, gold, and silver before time runs out. According to the Rich Dad, Poor Dad author, the current prices of these assets should not matter as much as how fast their prices are going to grow in the coming years. His post reads, I am constantly asked what price will gold, silver, or Bitcoin be in 2025. My reply is that is a silly question. The more important question is how many gold, silver, and Bitcoin do you have today? Gold, silver, and Bitcoin are bargains today. But not tomorrow. America is broke. Buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin today before stocks, bonds, and real estate crash and people rush for gold, silver, and Bitcoin. What are your thoughts about Saylor and Kiyosaki's bullish outlooks on Bitcoin? Do you agree that 2024 is going to be a poignant year for Bitcoin? Please drop your comments and observations below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our other videos on Bitcoin and the overall digital assets industry. Thanks for watching.